Teagan Burchill Riley. Very interesting to see this here at what I call the obelisk garden. The stones that do not have the pointed tips resemble more, without the hieroglyphics, a Shinto-style obelisk, and then this would resemble kind of a torii. It's kind of like a gate that one would bow before entering the sacred ground, symbolizing the kind of the portal, stepping forth from the material world kind of to the new reality of the world of the spirits, present materially still here in the physical realm technically, but in a Shinto shrine, especially if one is entering a honden, which only certain members of the clergy are supposed to do that, or if anyway, that's not so much the point. This was a very sacred location I don't come to very often anymore because of not living close by here, so it's very abnormal that I would be visiting this location, and so it's very interesting that he died on the birthday of George Hawkins, who I celebrated quite a bit yesterday, and he was born on the 14th of August, and the 14th of each month I call Japan Day, which the 14th or the 15th, depending upon which area of the world you are living in, happens to be the national Victory over Japan Day, or different names for that day about the surrender of Japan. And the 14th, his birthday, happens to be the feast of Saint Maximilian Kolbe, who was a missionary to Japan, and then eventually died at Auschwitz. And he was actually singing and very happy the entire time, it seemed like, in the death camps, where when somebody else was selected to go to the starvation bunkers, he actually stepped forward to take the place and volunteer for somebody who was not did not want to go meet their maker because they have a wife and children. They were able to go on to help support and survive the death camp, and he was lived a lot longer than a person would normally live in a starvation bunker. And instead of the usual screams and howls and cries of despair and pain and dying of that very painful, agonizing way to die in such horrifying locations, he seemed like he was experiencing a greater heaven than any of the guards that were present at that moment, or than the vast majority of people who are extremely wealthy, comfortable people, as we would consider wealthy, comfortable people that you might envy. He seems so much more happier than any of those guards that were working, or inmates perhaps even, ever encountered what seemed like such genuine, true wealth and happiness could even be found in the starvation bunker of a death camp. And I think a lot of that had to do with how devoted he was to the Blessed Virgin Mary, his queen, and I think that's a very good reason why we should not forget Revelation chapter 12, the woman standing on the moon, clothed with the sun, crowned with stars, and the sun disk on the Japanese flag happens to represent the Amaterasu, the Japanese sun divinity, or kami, or spirit, which they don't go into detail as to whether that qualifies as an idol, because it would have been could have easily have just been a female that became very exalted after she died, was a very holy person. There's no dogmas exactly other than belief in kami, belief in spirits, but Saint Maximilian Kolbe, a very very interesting person, because you only usually see that kind of happiness and joy in the face of such hell in people like him. And so very interesting that this happens to be the birthday of somebody born on the feast of Saint Maximilian Kolbe, and then died on the birthday of George Hawkins, as well as George Ann Hawkins died on June 11th, which happens to be the birthday of Francisco, one of the three visionaries at Fatima, who was told he would very shortly die with his sister and go to heaven to be with the Virgin Mary. and there happened to be a solar miracle that they prophesied in advance at Fatima, Portugal, and Fatima means Arab moon divinity, the source of the sun, and as I was talking about solar miracles, these are obelisks and the Torii and obelisks, and these resemble Shinto obelisks if it's an obelisk that does not have a point at the top or does not have the writings on the obelisk. It would resemble something related to a type of solar divinity. And Cyrus, who even the God of Abraham in Scripture actually said that in the book of Isaiah that Cyrus, whose name means son, is the Messiah, and he's also the man who does not know God, who will build the temple for God and treat God's people better than Yahweh really ever treated them, and treat his enemies with love and make it just as safe for a Jew in Israel as it is for a Jew in Babylon or anywhere in this massive empire that was the largest empire of any emperor or conqueror that had existed before him. And he was the guy that people were saying was so amazing that the people that were conquered and colonized by him said it was a very good thing they lost against him. They were way better off losing and being colonized by this man than not, because he was the first emperor, leader, or conqueror to actually treat his enemies just as well, if not better, than the ones that have the religion or ethnicity or culture that he can better relate to. And it just so happens that was coming from a man who was devoted to the Babylonian Queen of Heaven as well. So things are not black and white. God sometimes approves of people you wouldn't think, because he was the monarch of the city that has the worst reputation, and praising the Babylonian deities. One of them, the Queen of Heaven, Babylon the Great, which has the worst reputation. Let's not forget that Nineveh, God told Jonah the exact day to say when it was going to be destroyed, but Nineveh turned into something God was very, very pleased with and unable to destroy, because when when something is prophetic, the prophecy of destruction is made. And Nineveh was a city like Babylon, and Babylon's also a woman, and Jerusalem is a woman and a city. You are always able to stop the prophecy, restrain the wrath of God. And Moses got the Lord to change his mind by simply convincing God that exterminating over 99% of the Jews in the wilderness was a very, very bad idea. And Moses presented to him a list of much better ideas that will make him look a lot better and more lovable, and not a laughing stock. And it says, quote, God repented of the evil that he planned on doing to Israel. Okay, so, things are not always black and white. And so try not to be limited by what some things in this Bible say, because there's sometimes a lot of areas for gray when you have the same book written by many different people that sometimes say opposite things are true, and meaning that is lost in context and translation. And I just pray that Teagan Burchill Riley would be a good intercessor as well, and help me to stop having my outbursts of blasphemy, that I don't want to be that way, because it's not good for me and makes me look stupid in public. But what's really interesting is it actually kind of was sort of what led me to this location, and I think I'm supposed to be here on this 21st, the day after I started that thread to George Hawkins. God bless. Bye.